All right. Welcome to the interview.
Hi.
I was wondering if you could start off by just telling me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name's Haley McCannon, and I'm currently a senior at Lincoln University. I'll be graduating in May with my Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, and I plan to get my master's in community and agency counseling from
Mhm.
Lincoln also. Hopefully, I'll be starting that in the fall, but I'll find
Yeah.
out in June for sure if that's happening or not. And then right now, I'm planning to get a job in the field and just learn as much as I can.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's great. Can you tell me what were some of the biggest things you gleaned or gained from your undergraduate career?
Can you repeat the question?
What was probably some of the most important stuff you learned while you were an undergrad?
Okay, during undergrad, I learned the most important stuff was probably how to do research and how
Mhm.
to understand it and communicate it to people. And
Great.
then also just like the perspectives of counseling and
Mhm.
the different theories and how you understand how people are the way they are.
Great. Okay. Thanks. All right, I have a whole host of questions I've been collecting that I wanted to ask you. So I'm just going to start through the middle of these. If your like former colleagues that you've worked with in the past, if I talk to them and I ask them what your primary strength would be, what would they say?
I think that they would say my primary strength is just dedication because I'm really dedicated to getting things done whenever they need to be done and figuring out how to make things run smoother.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. What would you say your biggest weakness is?
I would say my biggest weakness is probably that I come across as quiet whenever I first get to know people,
Mhm.
and sometimes they think that means I'm like not paying attention or I'm just not like someone they want to interact with. But really, it's just I'm trying to judge the conversation and see how I can best fit to like speak whenever that time
So
comes.
you're paying attention the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have you taken any steps to like since you are aware of that to like counter that?
Yeah, I've tried. It's just it hasn't worked very well yet, but I've
Okay.
the more situations that I encounter, I try to speak up more and let people know that I'm actually paying attention and
Great. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So let's see. As a part of we meet on teams of counselors when we're dealing with difficult clients. Can you describe when you've worked on a team before and what, in your opinion, makes an effective team?
I've worked on a team a few times during my undergraduate degree so far, like on group projects and things like that. And then
Mhm.
also where I work at now, which is Hy-Vee, I'm on a team and we're like filling orders and doing things. I think what makes an effective team is communication, number one, like working together,
Mhm.
and then just everyone being on the same page about what needs to be done and how it needs to be done.
All right. And so, have you ever taken steps to try to be clear that everyone's on the same page?
Yeah, I think I'm more of the monitor in
Huh?
situations, like group situations, so I'm the one checking in on people to make sure they're getting done what they said they would do.
Okay. Can you hold just a minute? I'm sorry, I have to take this. Someone's at my door.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Most interviews aren't interrupted. Um, well, thanks for those answers. That was good. Um, can you tell me? I mean, I think I already have an impression based on what you've said. To you, which is better, a business that's run in an efficient-like manner or a business that's run in a more personal and friendly way?
I would say somewhere in between because it needs to be efficient, but also in a friendly way because you don't want to feel like stressed out whenever you go somewhere. You don't like whenever you're working somewhere, you don't want to be stressed out the entire time you're there. You want everyone to work together, but you also want it to be efficient.
Yeah, great. Okay. Let's see. If someone told you that you had made an error, how would you react, and what would you say in your defense?
If someone told me I made an error, I would just be questionable and just ask them what I did wrong and just try to see how I can improve it the next time.
Okay. All right. How do you know when you're stressed?
Whenever I'm stressed, I just kind of shut down. I don't really say very much.
Mhm.
And I just realize I have to be by myself for a little bit in order to be de-stressed.
That was actually my follow-up question, is what you do to de-stress. You have time alone?
Yeah, I usually have like one day of the week that I just like spend doing things by myself, like
Okay,
getting work done, making lists, figuring out what I need to do so that the next week goes better.
great. Okay. Um, can you tell me about a situation that you wish you had handled differently based on the outcome?
Um, this semester I was in a group and we divvied up the assignment to where everyone did their own slides and then we just put them together and we turned them in. Um, we didn't really check in on what each other was doing, so whenever we turned it in, we ended up getting a 0 on that assignment because someone plagiarized.
Oh,
So
you were in
whenever I
that
think
group.
about that situation, I just wish I would have checked over everything.
I understand. I understand. Okay. Let's see. Well, that's a good response because that's yeah. Um, if here's one. If you observed a coworker who made an inappropriate sexual or racial remark to another employee, and it was obvious to you that the situation was uncomfortable for your colleague, what would you do?
I personally would probably wait until we were like over the situation and I would talk to that person and just see if there's anything I could do to make them feel better or if they wanted me to talk to the person who made the racial slur or what they wanted to do from there.
Hmm. Any other steps you take?
I would also report it to someone in charge if it seemed to upset them, like they were really put off by it.
Hmm. Okay. Um, and so I'm thinking about talking to a supervisor. How would you describe your ideal supervisor?
I would say that an ideal supervisor is someone who's been in the position that you've been in, or they've at
Hmm.
least they have knowledge of it. So that way, if they're supervising a team, they know how everyone feels who's on that team, and they know how to make it work.
That's a good response. I like that. I mean, really, when someone knows what it feels like, that goes a long way. That's why I also think that all counselors should get counseling, so you know what it feels like to be a client.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to mentor someone else?
I've never had to mentor anyone personally.
Okay.
I've had a few situations in my job now where I've had to like show them what to do
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
teach
that's good.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
that's the only
works.
thing I can think of.
Okay. Well, was there anything that you were kind of paying attention to as you like functioned in that role?
I just had to pay attention to how I was wording things because some things that I think are like common knowledge, they might not understand that, just like
Right.
little details. So I had to make sure I explained the little details.
No, I'm laughing because I just tried to train my mom through the telephone how to run an iPad, which she's never run before, and so
So
like every detail matters.
yeah, seriously.
That's important. Okay, so sorry. Here you go. Um, what would you say has been your most rewarding experience in dealing with the public?
I think my most rewarding experience would have to be the internship that I started this semester because it had me get a feel of how it like what working for someone, even if you're not getting paid, like how fulfilling that still is.
Yeah,
And just talking to everyone, getting to know more information.
I wish it could have lasted longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too.
Okay. In some positions, it's very easy to make errors. What do you do to try to control your errors?
I'm the type of person who pays attention to detail, so I check over a lot of stuff. Even after, if I think I did it right, I'll still check it again just to make
Okay.
sure. So I try not to make errors, but if I
Right.
do, I just try to get feedback and figure out how I can not do it next time.
Okay. That's good. Okay. Can you tell me about the type of people that might rub you the wrong way?
Um, the type of people that might rub me the wrong way is just someone who feels entitled, like
Mhm.
they are like owed something from the world because it's just no one's owed anything and you have to work for what you want.
Yeah. That is, imagine this, because we're a counseling agency here. Sometimes we do have some clients who are, I don't know if struggling is the right word, but are dealing with symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if you're familiar. If you had a client who had several strong tendencies towards narcissism, how would you want to approach that person?
So the way to approach that is I would just I would try to find out how to best let them know when they're having an episode like that,
Mhm.
and help them identify those situations themselves as well.
Okay. So speaking of personality disorders, I'm aware from that position you had in your internship that you were working with people who had some symptoms of borderline personality disorder. How do you
Hmm.
approach working with folks that were dealing with those kind of symptoms?
To approach that, we had a bunch of different scenarios that we would go through. So we would do different groups and things like that, where we would help them figure out when they're having heightened emotions and how to overcome those emotions in the moment.
Hmm.
It was all about being mindful of your current situation
Yeah.
and deciding how your actions affect what's going on.
All right. Well, good. That sounds like a good place. Okay. Let's see. Okay, and I'm looking at the time. Oops, sorry, my stopwatch changed here. Okay, so those are the main questions I have here. Actually, oh, here's one more I wanted to ask. Can you give me an example of a time that you had to deal with a difficult colleague and how you dealt with that?
So a time that I had to deal with a difficult colleague was like at the current job I'm at. I had a supervisor who, once she became the supervisor, she tended to like not do as much work as everyone else. She would just play on her phone and like waste time on the clock. So we basically had a meeting and we had to talk to her and let her know that we aren't going to be inspired to work if she's not putting in the same effort.
Wow.
And it went well because we're all friends, so she understood where we were coming from.
Okay. Wow. That's also assertive and sounds appropriate too.
Mhm.
Okay. They sound like it went well too.
Yeah, it did, because she understood because she was in our position before, and she like realized she was slacking and she needed to work harder.
Gotcha. Okay. So those are most of the questions I have for you. What questions do you have for me?
A question I have for you is, what advice could you give to someone going into this position?
Well, especially for someone who's new, to be totally willing to ask questions and to reach out for help when you're feeling overwhelmed or overloaded. Um,
Okay.
I mean, because we do hire people straight out of graduate school, and
Hmm.
then we provide the supervision for getting licensed for the LPC, the licensed professional counselor. And so we don't want anyone to feel like they're trying to do it on their own. So
Okay.
it's really important, and that's also why we do group meetings all the time, so that we can
Hmm.
field questions from each other about difficult clients. So that's I'm glad you asked because that's big. I mean, in some ways, this is also like a training facility as well as like an agency that provides services.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good to know that you guys like put an emphasis on training people and not
Yeah,
just throwing them into the position,
yeah.
expecting them to know everything.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
I don't have any other questions.
Alrighty. Well, this has been good. I appreciate your taking the time to meet with you, and it's nice to meet you. I'm going to hit stop record, and I'm going to continue talking to you in just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure. Where is stop record? Pause. There it is.